Yep, sounds good. I'll keep you posted. Thank you. Alright guys, so we have a Whirlpool Cabrio, and so we have the stator, and we're going to be taking off the rotor. So what we're doing here is replacing the transmission or the gear case. So what I'm doing here we have the new unit under the old unit, which is still attached to the machine, and we're going to be removing the bolts. So what we're doing, we're going to be transferring everything from the old unit onto the new unit, and then we insert the new one as one complete unit. So the reason for doing that, it's so much easier, and you transfer so everything is still fresh, and it's one less thing to do. So you actually, instead of actually going back under the machine to put them on, you do it all in one piece. So it makes installing a lot easier. I will note as well, so by the way, you can install that transmission. It doesn't matter which position. It goes either way. So once you get that thing installed, well, I'll talk more about that later. So those are 10mm bolts, and so you're going to remove all of the bolts so that once you get started on this thing, once you flip the machine back upside, meaning on its legs, then you're able to actually just knock it out. Yes, it will take some time. This video took a little bit, and I included some of the struggles, because if your washer is over 5 years old, which this one was, and you're going to have a lot of corrosion, so the parts are not going to be coming off like they should. In fact, if the washer was new, this would probably take me literally 15-20 minutes to do. So this particular unit, it wasn't difficult, but it definitely was more challenging, to say the least. Now, once we're down here, okay, we're going to move up top, and I will definitely say that you will need to use some CLR or Barkeeper's Friend, and you're going to remove the bolt from the wash plate or the agitator. Sorry about the angle there. And you're going to spray it, let it soak, let the chemical do its thing, and that's going to help you in getting off the wash plate. If that wash plate is not able to come off in one piece, then you will have to order a new one. You might have to get a puller to remove it from the shaft. So, but the Barkeepers definitely does a great job in getting that off. So use it, spray it, soak it. Since you're doing it yourself, you're saving. If you're a tech, then have the customer order a wash plate. Include that in your estimate, because 99.9% of the time, you're going to destroy that wash plate getting it off. It's just the nature of the beast. Now, we're removing the slider, and I don't like to use a tool. It's very delicate, and you could easily damage the springs. So I like to just go under it with my fingernail, or if you do have to use a tool, just be very gentle. And once you get it separated, you just work your way around it, and it comes right on off. Now, you do have a groove in the bottom of that shaft, and that is where it sits, and it stops the slider from coming back up. So work on that slowly, and then after this, you put your rotor back on, and that entire part is done. But I left all the struggles, everything, so you'll have a good idea what to expect. So it is scale 1 to 10, difficulty probably about a 7. So it had some challenges to it. And it's a Torx 30. You could probably get away with a 25 if you don't, but be very cautious. I wouldn't do it, because if you do get them stripped, you're going to have a hard time getting that thing off. I do have a video coming up on removing it, but use the right tool. And that's a quarter screw. And you just install that. So everything is the way it was. And when it's time to remove the old one and time to put the new one in, everything is ready to go. You don't have to guess anything. All right, so we're standing the machine back on its legs. And this is where the fun part. By the way, this was in a customer's dining area. He had the machine ready and waiting for me, so I said, let me get my my blankets, and we got to work and get it done. So removing the screws in the back, because we're going to be lifting the front up. Now we're going to take the wash plate out first. And you do have a 7/16 screw. And I previously sprayed CLR, Barkeeper's Friend, down in the bolt hole. And what we're doing is trying to get the chemical to break the bond, so that it makes taking off a lot easier. So it helps in removal. And also too, if you're going to be laying the machine on its back, make sure you have something to protect it. And also tape the lid, duct tape, and put something to protect the top of the washer when it's tilted back, like a blanket. So now we have the wash plate, and so I was tapping. So the idea behind tapping it is, as you hit, it brings up the wash plate. Sometimes you get lucky. Other times you don't. So we're putting airbags under. Now, I will note, if you have 3 airbags, you will do better. I did, but I couldn't find my other airbag, so I do have 3 of them. In fact, 4, but smaller and 3 big ones. Now, you want to get them under the ribs or rib. Yeah, the rib. Yeah. So the wash plate has those 3 veins, and you want to get them under, not in between. The in between is a lot more delicate, and you could actually snap the wash plate. But I do recommend you order a wash plate. Probably depending on the area you're in, the water and corrosion level. So some places they come right off, and other places, I guess in the southern area, I guess it's, I don't know if it's worse or not, but I seem to have a lot of problem getting them off. So they seem to be frozen. But with the CLR or barkeepers, it definitely breaks up the corrosion or rust, and it gets off a lot better. So you might have to use a flathead screwdriver and pry under the wash plate. You could probably use a pick with a hook. Just make sure that your hook is pointing opposite, so as you're inserting your airbag, you're not poking a hole in it, so to say. So now we're going to add some air. And if your thread hole in the center of that agitator is still good, go ahead and insert the screw just a couple turns, and that will protect the wash plate from blasting out at a high rate of speed. I do have a video showing the power of it. Do not put your face over it while you're inflating the airbags. It could definitely hurt you, so stand back. And if you can't get the screw in, then just put something over it, like a pillow or something, and just inflate it so that if it does fly up, it's not going to fly outside and maybe hit anything. Yeah, I was trying to get it in, but it was already damaged when I was actually doing some banging like that. It damaged it, so it's not going to work. So what we're doing here, we have a long bar, and you'll need something like that to get deep into the hole. And what you're doing is using impact with the air, so the airbags are inflated, so they're pushing up against the wash plate, and now you're pushing down. You can't go, just keep in mind the nut is still on, so you're not banging the transmission out. You're basically forcing the wash plate up. That's what we're doing by tapping that. So you're not hitting the wash plate, you're actually hitting the transmission shaft in the center where the bolt hole is. And with the impact of that and the airbag, it eventually will just pop up. I didn't want to cut anything much out of it. I wanted you to see the actuality of it, that if you're going to attempt, then keep in mind what you're going to be expecting. There you go. Wash plate is off. It was under a lot of pressure, guys. They don't come off easily like that all the time. Sometimes they do take some work. And I want to point something out. The nut under there, this the big tub nut. If your wash plate gets damaged, you can actually leave that shaft on it. I think it's large enough, and you can actually remove it. So that's a good thing. So if your wash plate, you can't get it off, you could probably just cut around it, and you should be totally fine. Meaning it will pass through the opening of the nut, and you just order a new wash plate, and you just drive that insert, which was on the wash plate. You just leave it on there. Doesn't matter if you can't get it off, because sometimes that is the fact. It will pop right off, but it will take the sleeve or the insert, and that will basically still be on the shaft if it's really frozen. So we're going to take off we're taking off that clamp, and to get this cover, you're going to need to use a long hook, and you're going to be basically pulling those tabs, and you just work it around until it is ready. We're going to be removing the basket now, the tub, and this also had some challenges as well. So hopefully yours isn't too bad. And of course, all that you can spray and use bar keepers. In fact, if you're going to attempt this, I would actually say get a good amount of bar keepers, spray it in there or soak it in there, remove the nut, and if you really want to make this job a smooth, you can actually just soak it overnight or for a couple days and get a gallon or two of that stuff and just spray it or just pour it in the tub. Let it sit, and who knows, it may actually just come right on off just without any force at all. In fact, I have a video somewhere, I gotta post it, and it shows how when the unit is brand new, everything just comes apart. So you might actually be able to get the same result as a new unit. So we got that piece off. So now the tub should come right up. You should be able to just grab that tub and it should just pull right on out. So on this, I was able to bang a couple times, more like a few times, and it did not want to budge. So, and if I were you, I'd use a wooden long, like a 2x2 or 1x or a 2x4. Don't use your tool. I actually damaged mine. You'll see shortly. I snapped it. It was a nice piece to use to hit though, but look at that. And make sure you get a long enough bar that will fit into the insert. And now what we're doing is basically driving the transmission shaft down and out, okay? You do not want to force that tub up. It's pretty much impossible to just pull on the tub. There's not enough leverage. So you want to force the shaft out of the tub. So, but this was not working. So what I ended up doing, we inserted airbags along the sides and get them all the way under the tub. We inflated the tub with the airbags, and then we hit the center, and that's how we got it out. Spraying some more bar keepers. And again, if you can't do any banging or anything, you just keep spraying the stuff. It will eventually, loosen up. You might have to tap it. You can also use a rubber mallet, but metal to metal does a lot better job. As you can see, the shaft is still fully inserted. That whole piece needs to basically go in. So, airbags. Make sure you fully depressurize them. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to get down the sides. And be careful going down the side of that basket. I'm not sure how to describe that, but they're very sharp. So be careful if you have something to use to slide the airbags down, do that. Or have an extra airbag to inflate the sides between the tub and the outer basket. And that will give you some more room to reach your hand down, because what we're trying to do here is get the bags under the tub so that we're able to levitate or lift the tub. Doing the other side. So hopefully you don't have to go through all of this. Maybe you'll have better luck with yours, but this is what it is. So it was a little bit tight on this side, so what I was doing was putting the airbag, and we're going to inflate it to give me some more room to stick my hand down in there. The airbags are a must. If you're going to be doing this, it definitely helps. And now you can slide your hand pretty much all the way down and get the bag right underneath. If you can, there is, depending on the model, you do have a heater on some of these units. So when you have the machine on its back, just pay attention to any wires that may be inserted up by the pump area. It's going to be a heater, so you want to make sure not to put the airbag on the heater. It shouldn't hurt it much, if any, but if you can bypass that area, I would. And once the bags are in, you're going to pump them up. Don't go crazy on using just the airbags to push. What you want to do as you air them up, about halfway, instead of fully inflated to where you can't squeeze anymore. Don't go crazy like that, because you do not want to pop the outer tub. If the force is too much, the airbag is going to be pushing and somebody will give. So the weaker will give. We don't know how. The tubs are pretty strong, the outer tub, but you don't want to overdo it. So you're going to inflate, then you're going to come back, and you're going to bang. So you're basically forcing the transmission down and pretty much forcing the inner tub up. Trying to pull it up, but it's not happening. And you can pay attention to the threads on the transmission shaft. Each time you hit it, see if it's going down or the tub is coming up. As you can see, it's still pretty seated. We still got to get it up. Now, if you're a tech, make sure that you have the right stuff to get this done, because you're gonna be hating yourself. And at least 3 airbags, and maybe a smaller one to get behind the basket and the inner wall. And be careful when you're hitting like that. You do not want to damage your tub. So, in fact, I don't recommend you doing what I'm doing. Make sure you get a shaft and hit the shaft as you hold it on the shaft or the transmission shaft. And then you hit whatever you're hitting to drive that out. Don't beat on that. If you accidentally damage your inner tub, you're out of luck. And just remember, you don't have a lot of angle room to use a hammer down there, so you definitely need an extension of some sort to be able to deliver the force you need to drive it out. And now when you have the airbags underneath, that is also giving you some kind of insulation. So each time you hit, the shaft or the bottom of the drum or the basket is not actually coming in contact with the outer basket. You have some cushion. So the airbags are very, very important. So we're going to be hitting it again, driving it out. I didn't want to edit much. I wanted to actually show what you will be expecting somewhat. Is it worth it? I think so. If you're doing it yourself, definitely worth it. And again, you're saving a washer, and these washers aren't too bad. This particular Cabrio wasn't too bad. And the symptoms you're going to have is obviously the loud sound or the washer not agitating or spinning. All right, so I think we're good here, or almost. Just wiggling it now. Yep, I think we're free here, guys. Yep. That thing was stuck. I couldn't get it out. In fact, it's still in the transmission. I'm going to have a video on that transmission. Tear it down. I'm going to cut it open. Show you guys how they work. All right, so now we're back under the washer, and you're going to get some detergent, dish soap, and you're going to apply it on the seal all the way around, coat it well, and also clean the mating surface on the washer. Make sure that you don't have any debris between the two. Make sure your hand or gloves are clean and remove any debris that could be in there. And then we're going to be ready to insert the new transmission. Like I was saying now, see, you have the unit, it's all complete. There's nothing to add. You just basically just pop it in. Now, to insert this, you have a seal, and it's going to take a little bit of pressure to get it in. So wiggle it as much as you can. As you wiggle, a little pressure, and then get your screws ready, your 10 millimeters, get those ready, and insert one at one corner. Don't insert it all the way. Just get it maybe halfway in. And then you're going to get another one inserted, catty corner, diagonal, and insert that one just a little bit. And then you're going to go across and basically like an X, and that's how you're going to tighten them down. And each time you tighten, you're going slow. So a couple turns, because you don't want to twist or warp the seal. You want it just to walk in nice and smooth. And you'll see towards the end of the video how I kept tightening the base of the transmission against the bottom of the washer. And you want to make sure that it is fully seated. In fact, I didn't show it, but you can always use a feeler gauge or something really thin and make sure that there's no gap between the two. So I'm tapping right now, just trying to get a inserted enough to be able to get a screw in or a bolt. Here's a better angle, I think. Now you can use impact, just be very mindful. If you're not comfortable, if you're going to be over torquing, then don't. But it's definitely easier to get them started with the impact. And you can always complete it with your manual. You do have a better feel with the manual. But if you know what you're doing and you have a good feel of the amount of torque you're applying, then you can. Just pay attention to what you're doing so you don't strip those. If you strip those, then you're out of luck. Well, maybe you could use some epoxy and fill the hole, but you don't want to do that. So now we're snugging back and forth. Crisscross, yep. Now shortly you'll see where I get a close-up. In fact, after I checked the seal on the inside, once the machine was back on its feet, I actually noticed that my seal wasn't all the way up. So I actually repositioned the machine back in this position and did some additional snugging. So while you have it down, make sure that you're fully seated. And fully seated is that transmission up against that. Now take a look at this. See that? You can actually see it pulling in. So you want to make sure it's fully seated. And you can get a feeler gauge or something and make sure that there's no gap. In fact, once it's fully inserted, you might even have to go back to it, just in case. So keep that in mind. Yep, I was talking about making sure they're fully snug and fully seated. Now that was a ground screw. It's a 1/4-inch screw, and I'm moving it back to the top. The transmission got turned and I didn't realize it. Like I said, it goes in any direction. So plugging in back the connectors, and we're pretty much done under here, unless I have to re-snug those up, which I will, you shall see. So we're back up top. Now we're going to be putting the drum back in. Now it's time to clean that drum if you want, just in case, because you're probably not going to take that thing back out, including the inner outer drum. See, there's a heater right there, guys, to the right. Make sure when you're inserting your airbags, you stay away from that. It's right in the drain sump area, so be mindful of that. So right here, I was checking the seal, and it looks like it could have been up a little bit more. So I was going to leave that, so we closed the machine back and laid it back down. Secured with a screw in the back real quick so you don't have something falling out. Sometimes when you're trying to rush, you don't save any time, so just set her back down. You're already there. Makes no sense to see something and said, oh, I think it's going to be okay. No, it's not. Get it done the right way. Took maybe 2 extra minutes, right? All right, so 10 millimeter bolt again, and we're just snugging those up. I wanted to leave this in just so you know it does happen where you have to sometimes go back and check something. In fact, you will pretty much feel when it can't go anymore. So if you're using a manual, you'll definitely have a better feel and you will know when it's totally tight. But definitely get a feeler gauge. In fact, before you take your old one out, paper thin, just get it between the transmission and also where it seats and see if there's any gap. There shouldn't be any gap. And then do the same thing with your new one once it's done. All right, guys, we are pretty much done here. I'm going to let you watch the rest of the video. We're going to be inserting the drum and we're going to be tightening up the tub hub nut. I could not find my backup tool, so I was able to use a chisel to tighten it. Now, little pointer here when you're snugging, before you take your nut off, meaning while the unit is still undismantled, you can count the threads, how far it is, or you can just get a rough measurement of how far the drum sits on there. and then you can actually make a note of that. And when it's time to tighten up, you can pretty much do the same, and just snug it back to about the same position as it was. So, or you can just tap it until it's not moving anymore, and then you can move the drum around, hit it a couple times, not hit it, but tap it just to get it in position more, and just keep turning. And once you notice that it's not turning anymore, then you want to just back off. You just stop. Don't keep beating on it. You will destroy your tub hub nut. And in fact, if you want, you could even purchase one. They're fairly cheap, because now you have a new tub hub nut going onto a new shaft. Yeah, my thing is broken. So I would definitely say order a new tub hub nut with your new transmission, because you're going to have some wear on that tub hub anyways over the years. So order that in a wash plate and you should be good. So this is what I used to tighten it up, and it worked just fine. There's always a way of getting the job done. Just be careful when you're hitting. You don't want to damage your tub. And that goes for the plastic or the stainless. Video was a little long, but I wanted to show exactly what to expect. So from here on, guys, you're going to be basically now snugging up, and once you're fully snugged, you are going to get your wash plate. Hopefully you have a new one, or you're able to save your old one. And you can put a slight amount of grease, not a lot, between the teeth, the splines, and that will help in mitigating the corrosion. Nice and quiet, by the way. So that if you do have to remove it, you won't be going through that craziness again. So we're checking also, make sure that the tub is nice and true and straight. If you're fully inserted properly and sealed in good, you're going to be nice and true. If not, you might have a slight wobble. Then you know you need to go back and recheck your work. So I had to re-snug this again. Each time you rotate and spin the drum and tap on it, it might settle some. So you just go back and re-tap. And you want to check, make sure your drum is not moving, meaning you're going to be checking the distance to make sure it's not moving. So you have the inner wall and the tub, so you want to make sure they're not moving. So we got our new agitator wash plate, and we're going to be inserting that. That's brand new. It's a 7/16 nut. And you have a new cap as well. All right, so that's done. You have our splash guard. Don't forget to put that clamp on. Very important, or you're going to have a flood. That's your circulating pump, so it will dump a lot of water on your floor if that's not connected. I did not get to check the machine. The customer wanted to put it in to his own laundry room, so I did ask for a video. I did not get one. But he said everything's working great. So maybe he'll send me a video one day, but everything is good. So he's happy, I'm happy. And that's pretty much going to be the end of the video, guys. I appreciate you for hanging in there. And thanks for watching.